Hello and welcome to Groovecast, the podcast for the rhythm section, with me, Ashley Walker.
And me, Charlie Smith.
And welcome, I should say welcome to Season 2 of Groovecast, because as hopefully you would have seen on social media, we have been gone for a little while, and it's been quite a while since we last recorded as well, hasn't it, Charlie?
Yeah, I think middle of February or something like that, because of being away and schedules and things that we're going to come to in this episode, actually.
Yeah, we're going to, basically this episode, as some of you may know, I've been away for quite a while and Charlie's been very busy all over the place gigging, and this is basically the first time that we've spoken in quite a few months, so the idea for this episode really was just to talk a little bit about what we've been up to and have a catch-up, because we haven't done that in ages.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it has. And just before we get started on what we've been up to, if you haven't seen our first season of Groovecast, we have got 10 episodes there. We finished off with a really cool episode with a wonderful drummer, Honor V, based in the States there. And if you do want to catch up on any of that stuff before you get into this new season, you can go and check out Charlie's website, and all the links to the episodes and everything are on there. Just doing the plug-in, Charlie.
Yeah, so it's charliesmithdrummer.com/groovecast. Nice and simple.
Get a little plug-in at the top of the show.
That's the one. Get it out the way.
Yeah, so, I think the last time, like you say, the last time we actually sat down and recorded was the end of February. And since then we've been up to all sorts of different things, especially Charlie, all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, busy in different ways, I suppose.
Yeah. The main thing that I've been doing, as some people may have seen on my social medias and stuff, has been on a cruise for 4.5 months, my first proper cruise, which would, kind of explains why we hadn't recorded for quite some time. A little bit difficult at sea.
That's the one. Ship Wi-Fi is not the best, is it?
No, it's not.
Both come to learn. Yeah,
exactly, yeah. So we scrambled to get basically 10 episodes done in January, February time. We managed to scramble together a few episodes and got those all lined up. And I think we finished in about April time, didn't we? Our first season, April, May, was it?
Yeah, I think the last episode went out in May, I want to say, but I could be wrong there. I should know, but it's been it's been a couple of months.
Yeah, you've slept since then.
Yeah. I'm just trying to remember, if since our last episode, I can't remember if your album was out then, which deserves a plug as well while we're at the top of the show.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for that. Cheers very much. I can't remember, actually. As I think we talked about, in one of the last episodes, we were talking about our highlights of 2021, which seems an age ago now. I released a couple of singles in 2021, and I think at that point of recording, my album was coming out, and it is out now. Straight Talker, available on all platforms. That's been out, and been pleased to see as I've been away, it has been going up in streams and everything. And in fact, I think just before I went away, I went on a little local radio station called Coastal Sound to talk about that, and also Groovecast as well. And I think there's a little clip on our page somewhere of me talking about Groovecast, if you want to go and hear more of my voice.
What could be better?
Very, very self-indulgent.
It is, but all of the plugs at the top of today's episode. We may as well get them all out of the way before the start of the season. Get them done.
Yeah. Anything you want to plug, Charlie? Got a new album coming out?
I haven't, actually. I've heard that a certain other someone might have another new album in the works at some point. That could be a thing.
Possibly featuring yourself on a few tracks.
We'll see.
So I know you've been doing a bit of work with the Dainties, which you played on their album, didn't you?
I mean that was a couple of years ago now. When I played on that album, I think we recorded that in September 2020. So that was getting on 2 years ago, which it's ridiculous when you think of it. And it was we were still pretty deep in the pandemic when all that was done. So, but there's looks like there's some more recording work with them upcoming, so that should be fun. And again, keep your eyes on the socials. I'm sure there'll be a few posts here and there of nice drum kits in a nice studio.
And you've just done, you just did a local gig with them, didn't you?
Yeah, so I
really cool festival.
Did a festival gig with them in Sunderland, as we're recording this, just last weekend. When this goes out, probably a fair few weekends ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah. But that was a good gig. It was just a little festival spot, headlining. I think the festival was called Summer Streets, and it was very nice. We had a good time. We were on with. It was good to see some musician pals as well who were on in a couple of the other bands. The Mighty Funky Smooth and Terrell were on before us, which was good. So I got to see a couple of guys in that band who I hadn't seen for ages. And yeah, that was the second gig of the year, I think, with Martin, because the first one we did was we had a little jaunt over to Belfast, which was quite the experience. It was just one night away, so it was all kind of pretty hectic. But we got flown out to Belfast, got a little tour around the city. We had a lot of coffee during the day. We sat in a couple of coffee places. Went and visited Manchet's Music, which was a really good music shop over there. And then did
shout out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then did a gig that night at a venue called the Black Box, which was really good, really welcoming crowd, and they were all really into the music. So that was good. And then fly home the following morning first thing. So it's kind of a bit of a whirlwind 24 hours of being away, but it was good. And it was actually the first time I think I'd been on a plane in 3 or 4 years by the time that the pandemic's out of the way, and I hadn't travelled too much immediately before that, so it was kind of strange to be on a plane. And then I ended up being on a couple of, only a week after I'd been on that trip, I was off away to a cruise myself, which we'll come to shortly. But so the Dainty stuff's been pretty good recently, and there's a fair bit of work coming on for the summer and the back end of the year, including, which I'm very excited about, playing the Cavern Club, which is going to be that's a bucket list moment. I think definitely a bucket list moment. So, and it's been rescheduled twice, so I can't wait to finally do it.
And when's that one coming?
It's sometime in October, I think. I couldn't tell you the date off the top of my head. But
cool.
If you go onto the Dainties website, all the dates are there. And I'm on a fair few of them. I can't do all of them, but I'm doing quite a few of them.
Yeah, that's the nature of this business.
It's the one.
Well, yes, as you touched on there, speaking of cruises, as we were sort of trying to make loose notes on what to talk about during this episode. Obviously, the main thing for me has been this cruise, and one of the things that I thought was worth mentioning was being able to meet Jules Holland and Gilson Lavis, which seems an eternity ago because it was right at the start of the cruise, and I've slept a lot since then, and possibly had a little thimble or two of wine since then as well.
Just a bit.
So as some people may know, as you won't know, I was on a ship called the Spirit of Discovery, one of Saga's fairly recent ships. And as some of you may know, Jules Holland has a bit of an association with Saga and actually helped design one of the venues on there. So joining the ship, we didn't know beforehand who would be on the cruises with us and guest cabarets and all that type of thing. And sort of, I think on the way up, my dad said to me, "Oh, I wonder if Jules Holland will be on." And then as we pulled up to the dock, there's Jules and Gilson getting COVID tested, joining the ship. And then us in the band, and I think some of the other resident musicians kept saying, "Oh, we need to meet him, need to get photos and all that kind of thing, and how are we going to meet him?" And then it just so happened that I had a mutual friend of Gilson Lavis, one of a great educator and sort of mentor based in Boston, a guy called Lee Hextall, who runs the Boston Youth Jazz Orchestra. And in the past, as Gilson's based in Lincolnshire, he's done a few workshops and that kind of thing. So Lee just happened to have his number in his phone. And as my dad mentioned one day that I was on the ship with Gilson, he dropped him a line and said, "Oh, a young whippersnapper's on the ship that I used to mentor a bit and was in with our orchestras. Would you reach out to him and maybe see if he could come and sit in on the sound check or something?" And that's exactly what happened, and got to meet Gilson, and just what a down-to-earth guy. A guy who's played, as you know, with everybody, and just so humble. And it was just like talking to someone from another world when he was talking about the projects he's been working on. He was saying that at that point he was, earlier in the year, he just played with the Rolling Stones, I think, a couple of times. And he was currently, after that cruise, Jules and the band were flying out to somewhere in, or getting the train to somewhere in the Netherlands, or Belgium, I think, to work on an album with Rod Stewart.
Lovely.
And I didn't. It's a bit. Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'm just going up for my ballroom set now, Gilson.
Go and get your tux on.
Yeah, such a down-to-earth guy. And then at the end of the conversation, he just said, "Well, I'll have a word with Jules, and we'll see if you can come and just sit and watch the sound check." So Jules came in, again, really down-to-earth, and I got to watch them rehearse and do their sound check with the great Ruby Turner as well. Came and sung, which was just, they had two fantastic backing singers who were equally brilliant. And then all of a sudden, Ruby Turner comes in and just changes the whole game. So yeah, that was one definitely worth mentioning. And again, Gilson just giving great advice and stuff. Yeah, really nice guy, and one of my heroes, I think, for sure now.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, what a drummer as well. You know, there's the list of the people he's worked with is just phenomenal. You know, especially in Jules's band, and all the singers and artists they've come and had, you know, basically collaborators come and work with them has been pretty monumental. So,
and hearing about the process of some of those BBC things, and also just Gilson's process. He was saying that he doesn't read music, and basically working with Jules, he couldn't tell you how a song ends when you say we're doing The Way You Look Tonight or something, which is one of the ones they were doing on the ship. He couldn't tell you how that ends because he's just thinking all the time about the next bar and just sort of following Jules. And then he was talking a little bit. I was asking about the rehearsal process with the stuff they do on the BBC when they get the guests on, and he said that you know, the band gets sent out a tape or a CD or whatever of what the artist's going to be playing, usually 2 or 3 songs, and then they all have to learn it themselves, come into the studio and have a full day of rehearsal, and then the next day the artist then comes in themselves, and at times, sometimes the artist hasn't actually practiced the song themselves, so then the arrangement that they've learned is suddenly changed quite a bit. And one of the stories he told as well, and I've heard him tell before on, I think there's a few videos of him on YouTube talking about it, was, I think, Smokey Robinson it was, came on, and they didn't actually see him till the actual night of the recording, and yeah, Smokey just came on, stormed it, as you'd imagine. Yeah, but just a totally another world from anything I've heard about before.
Yeah, I bet.
Unbelievable.
So, just out of curiosity, why don't you rattle off a few of the countries and the places you've had the chance to visit while you've been away for your 4.5 months?
Yeah, well, it was funny because when we got the contract through and everything, and saw what line we were working on, we then all naturally went to like the website to see where it was going. And as I think I mentioned before on Groovecast, just before Christmas, I did a short 5-week cruise, which was majority of it was spent in Norway in the freezing cold. So we were like absolutely wonderful hearing that we'd be starting this next cruise in Norway, and packing all the winter stuff again. So went back there, but as you know, because you've been to Norway as well, just such a scenic, gorgeous country.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, and there are some pictures if you go check out my Instagram and Facebook or any of those things. I've put some photos on to try and capture a little bit of the majesty of the country. But yeah, so Norway was the first country, and then we moved on to the Med, hoping for some warmer weather. I think we had one warm day, and then it was probably
it was,
the worst weather.
What, March when you left there?
Yeah, March time when we originally went to the Med, and went to a lot of new places I'd never been to. Malaga, I think, was the first port, which was that was the lovely day, fortunately, and then finished off the day with a nice deck set in the dad shirts outside, which and my bucket hat, and then one of the cruises going to Sweden, Denmark, all over Europe really, and again stunning places, Poland, and then funny enough, the best weather I think we had was the Around Britain cruise, which was quite ironic, coming back to Britain in May time. So
Pretty
those
cool.
are a few of the places.
Pretty cool indeed.
But why don't you tell us a little bit about your cruise, as you touched on before?
So my cruise was more of it was a guest artist contract for me, so I was just out for 2 weeks. It was a busy 2 weeks, where I did a whole amount of 4 gigs, which for you probably sounds shocking, that some schmuck like me can just walk onto a ship, work 2 nights a week, and then walk off again.
Yeah.
After you were working probably 8 days a week.
I think that's a good song, isn't it?
It is a good song. But yeah, so I was on with a guest entertainer, so I was in their band really. So it was great for me to do, because it was just a little taste of what it was like without doing a big chunk like you've had to do. Although I make that sound like it's a bad thing, it isn't. But yeah, so 2 weeks, and we started. It was all around the Med. We started in Civitavecchia in Rome, and then went down through Santorini, in one of the Greek islands, Kusadasi, which is Turkey, and then Mykonos, another Greek island, and then Naples, and then back to Rome, and then the following week we had to do it all over again.
And another thing we can both relate on is how good Italian pizza is.
We can. We've both sampled fine Italian pizza, I think it's safe to say, and probably fine Italian wine as well.
Yeah, and just around the same time as well. I think we were about a day apart in a few different Italian ports.
I think we were. Yeah, we were definitely on the same course, albeit just staggered apart enough to not be able to cross paths, which was a shame. But it was a good opportunity to see parts of the world I wouldn't otherwise have visited. I went and saw Pompeii, which was pretty stunning. And again, like you say with Norway, you could not capture the majesty of that in a photograph. It couldn't be done. And goodness knows I tried. And again, if you go and look on my social medias, you'll see a lot of my attempts at photography from my 2 weeks away, which I tried to keep regularly updated.
I think maybe when we release this episode, we'll probably put do a few throwbacks and put some pics on as well of what we've kind of brushed on in this episode.
Oh, for sure. I think that would be a good plan, to try and resurrect some dusty photos from a whole month or two ago in both of our cases. But yeah, we've seen some sights, I think, to put it that way, and then some experiences as well. I mean, I know you went and was it in Iceland? You were in the big lagoon thing.
Yeah, as I think people would have heard of before, I hadn't really heard of it. The Blue Lagoon in Iceland is sort of what everybody talks about, and it was one of the excursions on the ship, and as you can imagine, it was booked up pretty quickly. So we were a little bit disappointed about that, but then we were told by some other people that there's a kind of a newer version of it called the Sky Lagoon, and a lot nearer in Reykjavik. So I went in there, and yeah, that was, again, like you said, the bonus. One of the positives of many with cruising is you go to places that otherwise you wouldn't go to, and then possibly think, yeah, I'd like to come back here again. And that's certainly one with Iceland, as it's not somewhere you'd really go, is it, on a holiday, unless you're a photographer or wanted to do that. But being able to go and do that and go to the Sky Lagoon was great, although I was probably in there a bit longer than I should have been. But
well, you've got to enjoy it, haven't you, I suppose?
Yeah.
And and make the most of it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think as we sort of come to the end of this episode, just, having our little brief catch up here, we can't possibly go through everything that we've been up to in the past 4.5-5 months, because we want to save some stuff for the rest of the season.
Well, this is true, and we've managed to cover quite a bit. I mean, like you say about the Blue Lagoon was something pretty special, and then I kind of guess in the same thing for me, it was I got to go on indoor skydiving.
Yeah,
a pretty incredible experience, and something, again, I wouldn't have otherwise been able to do. So that was kind of a cool experience, and something good outside of work almost.
Yeah, that's one of the great things with the cruising, again, is as people who have done it will know, you have so much free time in the day mostly, to do stuff. And when you're in port, and even when you're not, there's you can go and do stuff that you've never done before and possibly wouldn't have done otherwise. And yeah, I think some of those pics will be needed of the indoor skydiving.
Yeah, pictures of me in a big romper suit, looking terrified. That's what you want.
It's very Top Gun-esque.
Not the words I would have used, but there we go.
Maverick.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, it was a good way to round it out.
Yeah. Yeah, so, we've had a little catch-up here, but we're just sort of easing ourselves in. As you may be able to see behind me in my music room, it's, I think we're both still, well, I know you're a bit more busy than I am, but just sort of getting over the not jet lag, but cruise lag, I'll call it.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
So we've just we've got together to have a little brainstorm and have a catch up, and we've got some really cool episodes planned for this season.
Yeah, the cogs are in motion.
Yeah, slowly but sure. They're a bit rusty.
Yeah, a bit of oil and they'll be fine, and we'll get it together. And there should be some good episodes to come.
Yes, a few more top 10s, a few more, hopefully a few more interviews, or 2 or 3
or more.
Yeah,
we
or
shall
more.
See. But I think there's definitely some good things in the works for Groovecast. So do stick with us, and and as we said before, feel free to go back and catch up on any episodes that you may have missed. They're all there, and if you want to watch them as well, they're all on Ashley's YouTube channel, which is
Ashley Walker Music. I had to think for a second there.
It's been a while.
And I think as well, because this is the first time we've really talked about, since I talked on mic since our first season ended. I think thanks is due to the people who've sort of reached out and talked a bit about what they enjoyed about our first season, and hearing just a couple of musicians' views and opinions on especially like the top, the bass and drum duo thing. And we've had some really nice messages and comments.
Yeah, just a huge thanks to anyone who listens, and especially those who listen regularly and make it a part of their routine sometimes to every month tune in while we're putting episodes out. It's kind of something I guess neither of us really expected walking into it, so it was kind of cool.
No.
But on that note, we shall wrap up today's edition, and we shall see you next time on Groovecast.
Yeah, see you next time.